We found out we were having twins, and we were absolutely ecstatic and elated, and everything was going, very well. And things started to kind of turn a little bit around week 18 when we went in to go find out if we were having boys, girls, one of each. So at 18 weeks, we found out that our baby B, Alex, had spina bifida. So we were nervous. We didn't know what that was. Felt a little worried about what was going to come down the line. So our visits went twice a week. Every week they would do ultrasounds. They would do lots of other different tests to try to find out how the boys were doing. They were starting to talk to us about they were not sure if the boys were going to make it at that time. They just didn't know. There was no treatment that they could do. It was just more of a watching and waiting, which was, pretty agonizing. And around week 26, we went in for our normal appointment, and they said, hey, the boys are 1 pound, and that is considered possible viability. So it's time to go into the hospital. We ended up being in the hospital for about 2 weeks. We were trying to go as long as possible, and we made it 2 full weeks before they said, you know what, their heart rates are falling, and they're really not doing so well in there. And as much as they were hoping to buy some more time, it was time to go. So we had emergency C-section, and Nicholas was 1 pound 12 ounces, and his brother was 1 pound 10 ounces. It was a really conflicting time, because we were so excited that our boys were here and that they made it through the pregnancy, but then we were terrified of what was going to come for them. Obviously we knew being born 3 months early was not ideal. We were scared beyond belief.
I remember pacing and pacing and pacing during the C-section and waiting to hear news, because what else do you do as a waiting father? You're in knowing or not knowing what was going to happen. I mean, they pulled us aside ahead of time to let us know that what the odds were of having one or both make it out of it, and that was absolutely terrifying. I'd never experienced anything like that before. I saw them quickly wheel them out of the operating room and took them over, and it was a few more hours before we had a chance to actually see them ourselves. And they were so small. I just couldn't believe how tiny they were.
I remember thinking, okay, let's just go see them. I need to see them with my own eyes, and let's get the show on the road. And that was probably the second longest wait of our lives, was waiting until they were stable and situated and well enough for us to even just go look at them. They were so fragile. They couldn't hold their own temperature. You couldn't hold them. You couldn't pick them up. They had, a million wires.
It was weeks before we had a chance to actually hold our kids.
We were able to hold Nicholas for the first time when he was 1 week old, and it was Mother's Day weekend, and it was my first Mother's Day. And I remember I was going into the NICU like any other day, and that day, the nurse on duty said, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm okay, how are you? And he said, well, I think your day's gonna get a whole lot better, because I think it's time that Nicholas comes out and sits with his mom for a couple of minutes. And it was awesome and amazing, and being able to hold him close to me and, feel him, smell him, have him there, it was awesome. And it was just absolutely magical, those couple of minutes. And then Alex, it was
a couple weeks later.
It was 3 weeks for Alex, and I remember poor Mark, because I was the one who got to hold Nicholas first. And when they said it was time for Alex, I said, okay, it's Mark. Daddy can have first hold. The boys were in the NICU for 102 and 107 days, and I remember during that whole process that the hardest thing, as they started becoming a little bit more stable, was that I didn't quite feel like a mom yet. I think that was the hardest thing. You have to ask for permission. I mean, they're in a medical setting, and I couldn't touch them, I couldn't change them, I couldn't pick them up when I wanted to. You had to wait and make sure that they were okay. I felt like I was just kind of a visitor sometimes, and I would go in all day, every day. I couldn't do anything else other than check on them. and wait until it was time to do a temperature reading or, you know, change their diaper. And I would do anything and everything so that I had a chance to touch them.
Life in the NICU was just an emotional roller coaster. One minute you are extremely happy, you know, you can't wait to get in to see your child and see how they're doing, and the next minute you're finding out that there's a new diagnosis or there's another issue or the alarms are going off again. And it took us a long time to actually stop hearing those alarms, for sure. And and the nurses were amazing, helping us through each and every step along the way. And they knew, and they'd seen so much before, and they knew when we needed, you know, a hug or to remind us to go get something to drink or eat and take care of ourselves, because they knew it was going to be a roller coaster until we were able to hopefully bring our kids home.
As the boys got more stable and we were like 3 months pushing into the NICU, and it was the time we're like, okay, I'm ready to do this, let's get them home, let's go. You know, I just want to be able to grab them, hold them, feed them, do whatever I want when I want to, be a mom. And till they tell you that you can actually do that. The first year though, yes, we had, you know, weekly nurses visits and early intervention assessments and lots of doctor's appointments. So the first year was something that we survived, we all got through. And now life is a lot more typical. You know, we have 2 very active boys, 2 boys in Cub Scouts, one in karate and the other one in wheelchair sports. And going to school in 3rd grade, which I can't believe that. Obviously, nobody ever anticipates going down this road. You never expect to have a child severely premature. You just assume that everything is going to go well in your pregnancy. And unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't happen, but that it is going to be okay. And there are, you know, wonderful people and organizations that are here to help you every step of the way. Your baby or your children are going to be in the best of hands. You know, we had a rough road, and I will never forget that. But I will also never take for granted how far they've been able to come with the help of research and, you know, fantastic medical facility and nurses and doctors. You know, they gave us our world. This is our world right here. And we are just so thankful to everyone who played a part in that, and for, you know, the March of Dimes, who continues to do the research, giving us the support, the resources that we needed to obviously give our boys the best outcome.
We want the March of Dimes to be able to continue to help prevent prematurity in the cases of prematurity in the future, of giving the best possible chance to families and their children to be able to survive and be together as we have with Alex and Nicholas.